Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to be exploring some easy $5 weeknight dinners. Now these will be to feed 2 people or potentially 2 people and a small child, but you can easily double it or triple it depending on your family size. And essentially what I'm going to be sharing today is the formula for endless combinations of $5 dinners with very little to no work on your part, actually putting together a meal plan or figuring out what you're going to cook that week. And the secret ingredient for that is canned soup. Now hear me out, because I personally don't really enjoy eating canned soup or soup in general. It doesn't really fill me up, but they're always on sale. For example, at my local Food Lion this week, these Campbell's Chunky Soups are on sale 2 for $4. At my local Dollar General, the Progresso brand is on sale 2 for $4. They're almost always on sale at various grocery stores. You just have to be flexible with the brand. Most of them contain meat, vegetables, and carbs already integrated, so they are a complete meal, not just an entree with which you then have to come up with side dishes. Because if it's $5 for the entree and then you still need side dishes, it's no longer a $5 meal. My goal is to show you complete meals that you can make for under $5. Also, canned soups are easy to keep, store, and cook no matter what your situation is, whether you only have a mini fridge, if you only have a microwave. A lot of these meals I'm going to be sharing are microwave friendly today, so they are perfect for small spaces, people living in hotels, motels, or even college students living in the dorms. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of eating soup, so my goal is to turn these into not soup by integrating them into other meals and essentially just using them as a starting point. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. First $5 dinner combination is going to be a can of soup and a can of biscuits. As I mentioned, these soups were 2 for $4, meaning that they were $2 a piece, and the canned biscuits were $2.49 a piece. So any combination of canned soup and biscuits will put you at around $5 for the meal. This does come with 8 biscuits, which I feel like is quite a lot if you're talking about a 2-person household, but you can definitely roll some over and reheat them for an easy grab-and-go lunch. Or if you have access to a Walmart, you might be able to get these small cans of biscuits that only have 5 in them, and they're a little bit cheaper. They're $1.15 for a can. But as you guys know, I'm a big fan of showing non-Walmart and non-Aldi options, so I'm using my local Food Lion as the primary source for these meals to show that this $5 price is attainable at most grocery stores, no matter where you shop. I'm going to show a few different ways of preparing the soup with the biscuits, but we're going to start with the chicken pot pie soup and some butter flavored biscuits. Woo! Startling. So for this, I'm going to start by spraying a muffin tin with some nonstick cooking spray. You can also just brush the sides with oil or butter, whatever you have. Flatten out each biscuit and press that into each of our little muffin wells. Create a deep little well in the center for our pot pie soup to go into. If you can make it kind of pie shaped by kind of pressing it over the edges of your muffin tin a little bit as well. The soup is a little bit on the thin side, so I'm going to go ahead and drain it, and then we can fill each biscuit with some of our pot pie soup. Try to get a good mix of ingredients as you fill your little biscuit wells. I'm going to be baking these at 400 degrees for about 16 to 18 minutes. Look how amazing those look. You can hardly tell that this is a $5 dinner. And for a family of 2, each one of you could potentially have 4 of these, although I feel like 2 to 3 is a little bit more of a realistic portion. That is one of our little pot pie biscuits, and you can really use any soup that you want. I do recommend a cream-based soup if possible, but this combination works with any soup, any biscuit. Let's try our chicken pot pie little biscuit muffin. This is such a fun and delicious dinner with the buttery biscuits and the creamy chicken pot pie filling. Kids would love something like this because I find that kids really like miniature versions of foods, or especially like handheld versions of foods. And you get so much food because this $5 made 8 of these little mini chicken pot pies. I do find that they are a little on the bready side because of the biscuits, but that's where we lead into option number 2 for those who want a little bit less bread. I'm just going to bake the biscuits according to the package instructions, which is 350 for about 17 minutes. While our biscuits are cooking, we can go ahead and warm up a can of soup, and you can do this either in the microwave or on the stove top. For this one, I'm using this Old Bay clam chowder, which is new and I've never had it before. Once your biscuits are cooked and your soup is heated through, then you can serve this like biscuits and gravy essentially. I'm gonna cut open 2 biscuits and I'm gonna pour a spoonful of soup over top of each biscuit. Couple of things. Does it have to be biscuits? Absolutely not. If you don't have the means to bake biscuits, you can also do this over toast like SOS or hamburger gravy. The soup is just the base and you can really serve it over any bread. In the case of the clam chowder, you could serve it over corn muffins, you could serve it over hush puppies, literally anything you have that you want to use up. That old bay clam chowder is pretty good. Now, something I do want to mention is how easy a lot of these meals would be to make in advance and pack to bring to, say, work. You could put a couple of biscuits in a container, pack up some of the leftover soup or some of the soup in a separate container, and then when you go to work, you could just reheat the biscuits for about 15 to 20 seconds, reheat the soup for about 45 seconds to a minute, and then pour the soup over top, and you've got an easy grab and go lunch as well. So with the first method, that was 1 can of biscuits and 1 can of soup, but with this second method, if you're buying this 8-pack of biscuits, you will need 2 cans of soup, but you would potentially get 4 different meals out of it. So I do have 4 biscuits left over, and I would probably pair those with another kind of soup like this chicken, broccoli, cheese, and potato. But you're certainly not limited to creamy soups. It would also go well with something like this beef pot roast and country vegetables, even some chili mac, or I have this sirloin steak with hearty vegetables, which actually leads me into my second $5 dinner combination. We're gonna be combining canned soup with potatoes. Now again, each of these cans of soup was $2. And then the potatoes, I wanna say this 4-pack was about $2.30. I'll put it up on screen because I did film while I was shopping. But they also had single potatoes that were wrapped that were 99 cents. So you will need 2 potatoes for every 1 can of soup, which is still under $5. Now, of course, the first step here is going to be to wash our potatoes. Editing Rebecca stepping in here to say that I had a scene where I was stabbing a potato with a fork and talking about the nuances of baking it versus microwaving it. And as I mentioned, I did want to show some microwave friendly options. I am using the microwave to bake the potato. It is a lot faster than baking it because baking it can take an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. You don't get a crispy skin, but you can always then put your potato in the oven or the air fryer to crisp it up after the fact. So yeah, just imagine me standing here stabbing a potato a bunch of times with a fork. And then let's move on to the next clip. My microwave has a potato button on it, so I could just simply stick the potato in the microwave and press the potato button, and it's gonna automatically cook this potato supposedly perfectly. I've never actually used this function before, so this is gonna be a bit of a test here. Once your potato is done cooking, use an oven mitt. It's going to be extremely hot coming out of the microwave, and the game Hot Potato is based on a sequence of real life events. To check and see if your potato is done, go ahead and just insert a knife in the center there, and if it comes out cleanly with almost no resistance, your potato is fully baked. The potato function should work, but in the event that it doesn't, just put it in there for about 5 minutes, and if your potato isn't cooked all the way through, you can just cook it for an additional 1 to 2 minutes at a time until your potato is cooked. I'm going to set this aside to cool, and I'm going to cook up the rest of my 3 potatoes. For this one, I'm going to be using the sirloin steak and hearty vegetables. This one is a really great option if you're a steak and potato kind of person, but you don't have a steak and potato kind of budget. There's a restaurant that makes all of their business from selling various forms of loaded baked potatoes, and the way that they cut theirs open is they just slit it down the center like that, and then you take your fingers at either end of the potato and you just push straight in, and it opens up your potato, and you can kind of fillet it out if you want to. And just like with our biscuit meal, we're just gonna take some of our steak and vegetable soup, and we're just gonna ladle it right over the top of our baked potato. One of my goals with this video was to also show you that a lot of these meals are really great make-ahead meals for grab-and-go easy lunches for the week, which is what we're gonna do here with this second potato that I cooked. You can even prep this entirely in advance and then just microwave it or you can store the soup on the side. Potatoes don't really get soggy, so don't really have to worry about that. Beyond the steak soup, here are a few other soups that I think would be fantastic over a potato. And that's not to even mention that canned chili is great over a potato too. But I still have 2 more potatoes, so we're gonna take the broccoli cheese with bacon soup and make a twice baked potato. So something I wanna mention is that this Progresso soup does say it's gluten-free. If we pair this with rice or a potato, we have an inexpensive gluten-free meal. These potatoes just came out of the microwave, so they are still very hot. So I'm gonna hold them with a pot holder, just make sure I don't burn my hand. But I'm gonna scoop out the meat of the potato. Once our potatoes are hollowed, we can mash up the insides a little bit, and then I'm gonna mix in some of this broccoli, cheese, and bacon soup into our mashed potatoes. And then we're gonna distribute this mixture back into our hollowed out potatoes. If you've got some extra cheese, maybe even some extra bacon bits or something, you can throw some of those on top. I'm just using a little bit of leftover cheese that I have sitting in my fridge, but of course you don't necessarily need this if you don't have it or it's not in the budget. I'm gonna bake these potatoes at 350 for about 15 minutes. I barely put a dent in this soup, so we can use it for a different meal, or another option would be to warm some of this up and use it as a sauce over our potatoes after they finish baking. If you wanted chicken or something in your twice baked potatoes, you might want to use a soup like this chicken broccoli cheese with potato. And then as I suggested, I heated up some extra soup so that I could drizzle it over the top as like a sauce. Throw some in a container. Cook once, eat twice. This twice baked potato does look pretty good, not gonna lie. You don't have to use the oven. You can do this in the microwave or even in the air fryer. That is an absolute winner. Broccoli cheese bacon soup on a twice baked loaded potato. Fantastic, absolutely delicious meal. Another combination is canned soup plus pasta. Now with this, I do recommend using a pasta that coordinates with the kind of pasta that's in your soup. And what I mean by choosing a pasta that coordinates with your soup is, for example, this chili mac has macaroni. I don't have any macaroni, so I won't be doing that one today. This Cajun Alfredo has egg noodles in it. Bacon carbonara has penne pasta in it, or like little short penne, so I can use regular penne. And then I also have this beef pot roast, which would be good served over the egg noodles, and you could maybe even add some sour cream to it to make it like a stroganoff style pasta. I'm gonna be using this creamy chicken Cajun style Alfredo and pairing it with egg noodles. For 1 can of soup, I'm gonna cook about 1.5 cups of egg noodles. Once your pasta is cooked to your liking, you can go ahead and drain that. And then I'm gonna add in my Cajun soup. I tried a little bit off the lid. This is really good. It's not super spicy, but you know, it's Cajun, so Cajun's already got a bit of a kick to it. And then I'm really just gonna let the soup heat through, and the soup will serve as a sauce for our pasta and essentially take a regular soup style meal and make it into a creamy pasta dish. And it's as easy as that. 10 minutes to boil pasta, add this soup to it, and then just let the soup heat through, which only takes a couple of minutes. And again, we have a meal for now and lunch for later. The fourth $5 dinner combination is pairing soup with rice. You can do plain white rice, that's the most economical perspective, but you can also do flavored rice if you want to add some extra punch to some of these. These Zatarain's boxes are around $2 a piece, so it still keeps it under $5. But again, you can do plain rice if you prefer that. But I'm gonna show you a really interesting way of preparing this. I'm gonna be using this spicy chicken quesadilla soup, and I'm just gonna be using plain white rice. But the first thing I'm gonna do is drain the soup. Once we have the soup solid, separated from the soup broth, we can pull out a rice cooker. This is my mini rice cooker, and I will have it linked in the description down below. I wanna say it runs about $20, but the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure out how much broth I have here, which it looks like it's about 1.5 cups. Since I had about 1.5 cups of broth, I'm gonna try to fill this up about 3/4 of the way with rice. So I'm gonna fill it up to about the 120 line. And I'm gonna rinse this in cold water for a little bit just to get off the extra starches. And this can go in our rice cooker with the broth that we added in earlier. So we're essentially making our own flavored rice. Quick little stir to make sure that rice is all mixed in there. Just let that cook until it's done. This process works with any rice. Michael's a big fan of the ham and bean soup, so I'm gonna whip up a batch of that for him as well. So here I have 1 cup of white rice that's been rinsed. And to this I'm going to add my can of ham and bean soup. Quick little stir just to make sure the rice is mixed in there evenly. And then I'm going to turn this one on to the rice function. All right, my little mini rice cooker has finished. And once it's done cooking, it just switches over to the warm function. So then we can add in our kind of bulk of our soup, the solid parts, the corn, the black beans, the chicken, and let the heat from the rice kind of heat that through on the warm function. That might only take like 3 to 5 minutes. Plain rice is pretty cheap and you might already have some at home, in which case if you have an extra $2 to $3, you might be able to get a pack of burrito tortillas, and you can easily turn this kind of chicken quesadilla soup into a really easy burrito. This is the ham and bean soup that I cooked with some white rice. So again, we turned it into a rice bowl. And look how much that made. That is a fantastic amount of food for just a couple dollars. A lot of you guys follow me for my Dollar Tree cooking content, so I do want to also throw in a potato option that doesn't require fresh potatoes for those who can't get to a regular grocery store with the fresh potatoes to make baked potatoes. So here I have some beef pot roast, the Progresso, and then I have some buttery homestyle instant mashed potatoes. Both of these products are actually marked gluten-free, so this is another inexpensive gluten-free meal. I hope you guys have all enjoyed this how-to video on creating easy $5 weeknight dinners. I certainly had a lot of fun making it. I'd love to show you some more combinations later on. You guys will have to let me know how you felt about this video and if you got some helpful information out of it. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you again soon.